Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
This is the Morning Drive with me, Tim Elliott. It's Mario Business FM, and it's time to talk real estate with our regular real estate wonder boy. His name is Mario Volpi. He's the Senior VP, Investment Advisory at Allegiance Real Estate. I have to work on these introductions, Mario.
Well, I mean, to be likened to a superhero, Wonder Boy.
Not bad.
That's good. So good morning. Thank you.
Wunderkind. I don't know. There's lots of ways we could go with this. Let's start with what you're doing today, because I know it's a very important day for you in many ways.
Are you talking work or pleasure?
No, I'm very definitely not talking work. So tonight, your beloved Chelsea play Napoli.
That's right. It's a very, very important game. We're sitting at the moment in 8th position, which for those who understand Champions League or this new format means automatic qualification for the next round. However, it's in our hands. Napoli themselves also are going to be really giving a good game, I would imagine, because defeat for them would mean that they would be relegated into a lower cup, and so it's all to play for. It is in our hands, but we are away. We're at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium, which it's been renamed to the famous Argentinian wonder god for some people and cheat for others. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing night. Hopefully we'll win. I'm not going to say the Blues win because they're also blue. We'll be playing, no doubt, in our away kit. So looking forward to it. Let's see.
Are you torn as an Italian?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Because it's a legitimate question.
Yeah, no,
because
absolutely.
Obviously I made the mistake of asking you once recently, actually, British Italian, Italian British, and you very firmly told me, "No, I'm Italian," and I thought, okay, but you were brought up in Britain, obviously.
Yeah, I went to Britain
Italian
when I was
people.
5. So yeah.
So there must be a tug when your team, a British team, plays an Italian team. You must be kind of thinking.
It depends. If you're talking about club football, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's very tribal, and even within Italy. If Napoli was playing Inter Milan, there'd be so much hatred.
Sure.
I guess it's Arsenal, Tottenham, that kind of a scenario.
Yeah.
When it comes to national team, then it's Italy 100%.
Is it really?
Yeah. So do I have any affinity to Napoli at all? No. I only went to Naples for the first time in my life last year on a property roadshow. It was an amazing event, but that's the only link there. Lovely city, very old, but no. When it comes to football and club football, for me, it's Chelsea through and through, without a question of the doubt.
Okay. Let's talk real estate, shall we?
Shall we?
Yeah.
Do we have to?
No, in fact, no. Well, I hope you get some sleep before you watch the game tonight, by the way, as well. I like the plan of getting some sleep.
Well, I'm not as young as I used to be, so I can't pull these all-nighters anymore. And obviously, 8 o'clock, or actually it's 8 o'clock in the UK, 9 o'clock in Italy. So that's a midnight kickoff here. So it's tough when the following day I've got a podcast to do at 8:30. So I've got to get up around 6:30. So yeah, going to bed at sort of 2:30, 3 in the morning, and then doing the podcast, and then having a whole day's work. That's why I look as bad as I do, I guess.
I think you do quite well. It's tough at the top, though, isn't it? Let's face it. Let's start then on the real estate tip. As we always do. First question for you. Lots of renters in Dubai worried about rent increases. There's no news in that statement, and that's standard, but people are wondering what's going to go on this year. If somebody's already renting, what are the rules around rent hikes? Let's just reiterate this. What should you know?
Yeah, so obviously the Smart Rental Index is the all-seeing eye, if you like.
Yeah.
So a landlord, despite the rents obviously having gone up, and the rental index is actually in real time. My understanding is it's in real time, so it uses data from the Ejari system. It's no longer just updated every now and then, which meant there was a lag.
Yeah.
So first of all, whatever your landlord tries to, at renewal, tries to ask for rent in terms of any increase, always check the Smart Rental Index, which can be found on the Rest app or at the Dubai Land Department website. Now, that will determine what the rent should be. However, irrespective of whatever the actual calculator, as it used to be called, Smart Rental Index, says today, if the landlord has not given you 90 days notice of any changes to the contract, which obviously would mean the actual rent itself or number of checks or any other changes to a contract, if they haven't given you that 90-day window, then as per the law, even if the Smart Rental Index says an increase is allowed, there would be no increase because he hasn't given you that window. Now, that, for me, that's the letter of the law. But for me, I would say that, and I've mentioned on this program and on podcasts, that relationships are really, really, really important. And by that I mean, landlord and tenant relationships. Because despite what people think, obviously landlords need tenants to pay their rent, but tenants need landlords also to follow up with maintenance issues, etc. So the better your relationship, obviously the better tenancy you're going to have. So my only it's not even advice, it's more just a statement. If your landlord has not given you 90 days notice, and by that I mean, he's missed it by a day or so. If he hasn't mentioned it at all, then fine. And full well that prices have gone up and you do want to renew, then by all means tell your landlord that actually, as per the law, you're not allowed to have any rent increase because you haven't given me the statutory 90-day notice. And that notice has to be put in writing. But an email or a WhatsApp or whatever, that's fine. It doesn't have to be notarized or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just take a step back and sort of think about maybe saying to the landlord, look, you're not entitled to an increase, but I'm very reasonable. I like living here. I want to be here. But basically, note it down. This is me giving you a get out of jail free card. Whatever it is that he wants, you don't necessarily accept that. You can say, look, if he wants a 10,000 dirham increase, let's say, or 10%, and that's what the calculator states, negotiate and say, look, you're not entitled to an increase at all. However, I'm a reasonable person. I'm happy to pay a bit more money. You can either pay it as per the calculator, but just let him know, or negotiate and say, well, I'll give you 5%, because actually, as per the law, you're not entitled to anything. If you go down that route of what the law states, obviously the landlord's going to be upset because he's not going to get into his increase, and he'll then look to blame someone, perhaps the agent who never advised him, or he blames himself or whatever. But your relationship will sour, because whilst he knows you're right, nobody likes a smart aleck, as it were, and he's going to then obviously be upset. So I'm just saying, just maybe think about the possibility of lining your future situations better by having a better relationship, by letting him know he's not entitled, but I'm prepared to do this. If the landlord, however, is not a very nice person, he doesn't accept that gesture and insists, then fine, the law is the law. And if they haven't given you the 90-day notice, there is no increase at all.
Yeah, it's good advice, actually, because you have to figure this is where you live, this is your life, and why would you compound an issue? There's always that little bit of pressure there, isn't there, if you don't have a relationship with a landlord?
Yeah, because like I say, there are times where both parties will need each other.
Yeah,
in a professional
Yeah.
in a professional way. It's quite rare that you live in a place that nothing goes wrong, no leaks, no AC going wrong, of course, and especially the AC gets under a lot of pressure during the summer. So you've got to ensure that everything works, and that then comes down to the maintenance of the building. And again, for the listeners, maintenance, or should I say, major maintenance, is 100% on the landlord.
Yeah.
And but again, what does major maintenance mean? It's a bit like the clause wear and tear. I always don't like to have wear and tear in clauses because it's open to interpretation. Your interpretation of wear and tear is different to mine, and that's where arguments come in.
Yeah.
But the norm is that the contract should actually have a monetary value, and it's between, I'm going to say between 500 and 1,000 dirhams. It tends to be nearer the 500 to 1,000. So what I'm saying is any maintenance work that costs up to 500 dirhams. Did I say 1,000? I meant 500 dirhams. Just making sure there. 500 to 1,000.
You said
dirhams.
500, between 500 and 1,000 is what
Yeah.
I've
Sorry,
seen
I heard 500,000 in my mind. I don't know why I meant
It's the voices.
That's going to be, yeah, it is. That's going to be a big maintenance, isn't it? 500,000 dirhams. So anything leading up to 500 dirhams, generally speaking, is the responsibility of the tenant, as per normal sort of contracts now. And of course, anything above that is the responsibility of the landlord. And if you put a monetary figure to it, then in effect, you don't necessarily have to involve the landlord. You just get on and do what you have to do. If there's a minor leak under the sink or something that just needs a washer changing, so call out charge, etc., 100 dirhams or whatever. Where I live, it's I think if I remember right, it's 150 dirhams. It's quite a lot for the call out charge. But then I suppose that's like £30. £40 is about right for a call-out charge, or at least it was years and years ago in the UK. I'm not sure what it is now. But anyway, so you have this call-out charge, and then anything else that they need to do, obviously, is on top. But what I'm saying is hopefully it's less than 500, so you can just get on with it without having then to wait for the landlord to respond. And that's the bit about relationships. If you do have an issue and you've got a good relationship, hopefully the landlord will actually respond quickly, as it were, rather than ghosting you.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it's a good thing to have in a contract as well, if it's just a set monetary value. If it is 500 dirhams, that was a place I lived recently. That's what it was. But there are a couple of times when, I don't know, the AC system needed gas, whatever, and it was a couple of AC units, and it was going to be 500, 600, 700, whatever it was going to be to clean and maintain. So I would sort of call somebody and say, could you come in and look? And then I'd call the landlord and say, look, I've got this issue. And the landlord would say, well, look, you can sort it out, but let me know. Maybe I would get somebody else in to do it. But again, you're still working on that relationship. And it's open, it's pretty transparent. And if it's above 500, he would pay. Below, I would pay. That's a reasonable way to do it. But I think your point about landlords, and you've made this a few times, and it's something that I think we don't think that much about, because it's not just a transaction that you're doing. This is somewhere you live, and this is somebody's place. So there's a responsibility.
Well, they have a say in effect, potentially how the outcome of your home. So I always say whenever a property's for sale and there's a tenant in there, I always say to my brokers that remember that whilst it belongs to the landlord, it's his property, but it is their home. And as a result of that, they have to be respectful, especially when it comes to viewings. So we always try to either organise, a set time and a day, so we know what we're working to, so do the tenants. But if the tenant says, look, it's not convenient, not to then all huppity and say, oh, we need to do a viewing, because the pressure from the buyer is saying, I want to view it here and now and what have you, you just got to remember that it's their home. And with their, generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, with their items, especially, personal items. I mean, if it's furnished, then obviously that belongs to the landlord. But even so, you're entering what should be a safe space, respectful, take your shoes off, that kind of thing. So there's a lot to take in. So that's why I've always said that relationship really has to be nurtured. And if you're lucky enough in some respects to be in a place for a period of time, you then have that opportunity to develop the business relationship.
Yeah, you do. It's important to remember. So that's really looking at rents. And if you're worried about rent increases this year, don't forget the Smart Rental Index. That's important. If you're thinking of moving this year, more broadly, where are rents actually going up the most? What are you seeing at the moment?
I mean, that's quite a loaded question because we could be here all day leading, all the areas. But we do have some key areas where we've seen some steady increases. And dare I say, they are the kind of usual suspects. Palm Jumeirah, Dubai Hills Estate, Arabian Ranches, Jumeirah Golf Estates, Talal Al Gaf, and Victory Heights. I mean, a lot of these areas have seen steady increases. Some are more established than others. But if we sort of have a bit of a breakdown of what's happening in all of these, if we take Arabian Ranches remains one of the most popular family communities. Obviously, it offers large villas, green open spaces, excellent schools nearby, and obviously that classic gated community lifestyle. But there's also a golf course there for those that might remember. Now, average rents for a two-bedroom villa, they're now around 180,000 per year, and the demand is definitely still climbing. As I mentioned, the golf course, parks, and the sort of the peaceful family environment make this very much long-term favourite for a lot of these families. Dubai Hills Estates, a more modern development, but that's another standout. It combines, you've got modern apartments and villas, obviously again green spaces, parks, there's walking trails, and of course let's not forget one of Dubai's best malls. I remember when it first opened up, my wife loved it there because it was, dare I say, so empty. You could actually walk
Not
around.
Anymore.
No, exactly.
No, it's a great mall. It's do you know what it is? It's easy to navigate.
Yes, yeah. It kind of, I don't know.
It's up,
converges
down, backwards and forwards,
in.
Yeah.
So look, one-bedroom apartments are averaging around sort of 100, 110 per year there,
Right.
and the area keeps growing in popularity thanks to that sort of central location. Because don't forget, the city keeps moving, keeps shifting, and we'll go on to talk about that in a minute. Obviously, the lifestyle amenities and of course the transport links. So that's a very popular one. Another one, and this sort of comes out especially around, dare I say, November time when the race to Dubai is around, is Jumeirah Golf Estates. Yeah. So if you're after a quieter but more luxurious sort of suburban feel, JGE continues to attract strong interest. It's, as I said, it's built around two world-class golf courses, peaceful surroundings, lots of greenery, definitely high-end living. But you do have apartments there as well. They're renting, again, around 105,000 a year, and villas are seeing even stronger demand. We talked about Palm Jumeirah, probably needs no introduction there at all. Obviously, beachfront living, more established, five-star resorts, nightlife, dining. Obviously, it's an iconic world project, if I can put it that way. I mean, here, one-bedroom apartments, they're now averaging around 170,000 dirhams per year.
Do you know, I saw that in your notes.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It really is. I'm looking at that thinking, one bedroom.
I know, but the demand is still strong.
There, I suppose.
That's the thing. The demand is strong, especially from sort of international residents who obviously become tenants, and obviously luxury renters as well. Last couple, I mentioned Talal Al Gaf. This is one of Dubai's fastest growing communities. Now, this is built around a really nice crystal lagoon. It offers modern, eco-friendly homes. There's villas and townhouses there, great leisure facilities, and a real sort of lifestyle focus. Rents there are averaging for villas around 250 per year, and we're seeing definitely demand consistently outstripping supply, which is why prices there definitely are going up. It's great for families, perhaps upgrading from apartments. And then lastly, Victory Heights. Victory Heights is in Sports City. Now, when you on the fringes of Sports City, when you talk Sports City, we work in Motor City, so it's kind of next door. What conjures up really is, dare I say, the more affordable end, more sort of Jumeirah Village Circle type of an area. However, Victory Heights bucks that trend. It's a bit of a hidden gem. Again, there's a golf course there. It's the L's, so it's wrapped around the golf course, and there you've got spacious villas. Mature landscaping because it's been established now for several years. And again, limited supplies. I mean, people that tend to live there tend to stay there quite a lot. Villa rents there are now reaching around 300,000 per year, and basically because, as I say, the availability is tight. When people are there, they tend to stay there, so there isn't that much choice. And when they do come up, they tend to get snapped up quite quickly.
It's a different kind of community as well, Victory Heights. There's something about it, and this is going to sound, I'm going to make a daft statement, but you'll know what I mean. It's a gated community.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like a gated community. It feels much more
because
open.
the gates are, they're at the entrances, as it were, rather than sort of inside. So, I mean, once you've passed that bit,
it feels a lot more
free.
kind of open. And you're right, it's much more true. It's been around for a while, longer than you would kind of realise, I suppose. Big wide sort of boulevard roads as well, it always seems. But no, I'm with you. Talal Al Ghaf, once again,
that's very popular.
That,
do you know what?
Super popular.
Can I just say, when Majid Al Futtaim first launched what is now Talal Al Ghaf, I mean, this was years ago. I'm thinking maybe, well, it was post 2018,
right?
Because I remember I was working for another company, and I remember going to the launch, and they were launching these villas, but they were huge mansions, and as usual at these sort of broker briefings, they feed you, they water you, you know. There was no Bryan Adams or Andrea Bocelli like we've had in previous times, but it was a hotel. It was really, really nice, but it flopped, and possibly because, don't forget, from 2014 to 2020, we were in a downward depression when it comes to real estate. And I guess 2018, if that was the year, I'm guessing now, then we're getting towards the really the lower end of that. So it flopped because the mansions were just too big. We obviously didn't have the population that we have today. Anyway, when I say it flopped, they launched it, but the sales didn't go very well. So, as is right, rather than just keep hitting that now, no, we're right, we keep going. No, they completely went back to the drawing board and redesigned everything. And now you've got Talal Al Ghaf, which still has some big houses there, big mansions. Right. But they brought in townhouses, more manageable. Yeah. Those aren't necessarily on the Crystal Lagoon. Obviously, it's the big old houses that are obviously on the lagoon. But they completely redesigned the master plan, went back to the drawing board, and now it's a massive success. Obviously, it's helped that the population has grown, which they may or may not have known that at the time. But the point is that some of these developers are not frightened to I guess, say, we were wrong. Let's take a step back. Let's look at it again and relaunch it. And that's happened a few times, not so much now, but in years gone by. Madinat Jumeirah Living is another one. There was a plot there. That's the bottom of Sakim Road when you're heading towards Burj Al Arab.
Oh, okay.
Right down the end.
Yeah, I'm
literally right down the end. Yeah. There was a plot, a big plot, and obviously this was part of Jumeirah, so part of Sheikh Mohammed's portfolio. They were building. This would have been Dubai Holdings. They were building these mega mansions, but they were just giving them shell and core. So you would then design them, what pools you wanted, what sort of kitchens you wanted, et cetera, et cetera. Gotcha. So they would give you the skeleton. And again, it didn't work. It didn't work, and Sheikh Mohammed took it all back, redesigned it, and put apartment blocks there. And hence why now you have those apartment buildings as well, some of them facing Burj Al Arab. Very, very popular now. They were very expensive at the time, again. Yeah. And not everybody can afford. I'm trying to think of the price at the time. It was something like between 40 and 60 million, 70 million for a shell and core. And then obviously you would spend probably, dare I say, 5, possibly 10 million again in finishing your property. So whatever you paid for them, you had to add that amount. So look, it would have only appealed to the elite. Today we say that so many more millionaires have come to Dubai, and maybe if that project came to market today, it may be more successful. But the point I'm trying to make is that, even when Dubai doesn't get it right, they recognize that fact and take a step back and try and make it better. rather than trying to win an argument, which we've all done, hitting on a point that perhaps you should have just either shut up or backed away.
Yeah, I've done that once or twice in my life. But I mean, of all the places that that one thing about that development in particular is that fits so well with Madinat Jumeirah and the Burj Al Arab. That whole area has been very carefully thought through. It's an interesting development, I think. But it's also, in terms of real estate, the mantra location, 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 that's got another location on it there, hasn't it?
Yeah, because when it first, I remember when it first came on, it was still like non-freehold or only for Emiratis. But it was sold as freehold. So it would have been as close to Sakim 3, I guess, would have been the area, which ordinarily would be just for GCC nationals, that actually an expat now can own. So that was another draw for these villas. But as I say, maybe there was just a bridge too far. But now apartments, it's opened it up to more people, and they're freehold. And of course, as you say, location, you're opposite iconic. Burj Al Arab.
It doesn't get much better.
Exactly. And plus all the other hotels, don't forget there. It's not just, you've got Jumeirah Beach, Al Qasr, you've got Jumeirah Beach Hotel on that side. You've got Al Naseem, all Jumeirah hotels, amazing hospitality, amazing restaurants, somewhere really lovely to sort of wind down either of an evening or have a staycation or whatever.
It's a good point. Let me just kind of open this up a little bit as well. Dubai moves fast, and this is a great example of a place that was maybe just a little bit ahead of its time. Right there. New communities, mega projects, fresh developments, hard to keep up. I've said this to you loads of times. Every real estate person that comes in this room, I'm like, so where are we? What's been launched today in the last 5 minutes? If somebody's trying to decide on where they, might want to rent or buy next, what should you be paying attention to in 2026?
Well, it's absolutely true that Dubai does move at lightning speed, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't know how agents, brokers even keep up with it. I guess thinking about it, maybe they just select certain developers and work and specialize rather than. But then that's also difficult because when a buyer comes along and you're specializing in high end, you might not be able to help that person. So again, you'd have to see. So having a broad-based knowledge is important. But it really is tough. There was a statistic I think we spoke about last week. Every 13 and a half hours now, a property is being launched. Whereas I think it was Q1 of 2024, that figure was 18 hours. So it's got worse. I mean, are we ever going to get to a stage of every hour there's going to be a property launch? I kind of hope not. But anyway.
That's going to be a bit tough for you. You won't be watching Chelsea anymore.
No, I wouldn't have time, would I?
Yeah, it's terrible.
But, choosing where to live has become, I'm going to say, obviously, it can be overwhelming, but also exciting at the same time. So to see what's coming next, again, I thought I'd talk about sort of what's sort of driving growth in certain areas.
Right.
So we're looking at sort of three things here. There are three big factors. First one is massive infrastructure spending or investment. I'm going to say massive there because you only have to look at, especially certain areas. And we mentioned before that the city is moving, and I feel the city or the Emirate of Dubai is shifting its focus perhaps more towards the airport or the new airport, the Al Maktoum airport.
Yeah.
So the sort of road transport infrastructure, not just there, everywhere, but particularly there, is definitely being spent. Etihad Rail is another one. I mean, that to me is a game changer. That's going to be opening up better transportation, not necessarily for work, but for leisure as well. So that's the first thing, the infrastructure investment. The second thing, smart city planning and sustainability. Now, everybody likes to use that word. It's quite cliche. But I remember when I first came to Dubai, I mean, you didn't recycle. You didn't worry about, and even to a point, even now, maybe you still throw trash away rather than putting it into I mean, it's religious, like military. It's very militant in the UK. If you don't, you've got your different bins, and if you don't put them out, and then if they're not in a certain place, they don't pick them up. Here, it's that laissez-faire type of thing, but it's coming. So anyway, sustainability, especially in buildings, green buildings. So that's happening. The third is definitely lifestyle-focused communities that prioritize green spaces, walkability, and wellness. Wellness is another sort of key word, and a lot of these developers are building projects basically around well-being. So these three things, and modern designs as well is another thing. Now, if you put all those together, you then get neighbourhoods that appeal to both renters and obviously long-term buyers, or dare I say, forever home. So yeah, those are what's driving it.
Well, massive is the right word to use when you said massive infrastructure investment, because it is huge. Putting in a rail network is an enormous undertaking. Putting in the new extensions,
the metros
metro,
as well,
for
exactly,
example, is another thing. But it's starting to hit home now that we're going to have a train service from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah, and then slightly south.
Well, I think it can go. I think it goes to Oman as well, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but I mean, just as a national
internally,
infrastructure,
It actually I think it's going to start in Saudi.
It would. The idea is that it will all be connected
everything,
across the GCC. Yeah, but it's a really exciting thing. I got to be honest. I kind of miss trains. I grew up, getting on the train, going to work on the train. We had a question in for you a little while ago. Let me just come to this. It was Cecile. Says, "Hello, Mario. You've been in this market for decades."
Well, thanks for the statement.
Well done, Cecile.
God, they make me feel old, don't they? These. We love you, Cecile. Thank you.
But I think that comes from a good place, because Cecile's asking, what's the biggest mistake you see people making in UAE real estate, in the market here, over and over again?
I assume she means what, buyers or tenants or what? I mean,
doesn't say.
Bit of a loaded question, really.
It is really. Well, maybe it wasn't from a good place. Maybe it was, I'm going to trip Mario up this morning.
If you're looking from a buyer's perspective, then I would say the biggest mistake is buying too emotionally, which is a problem in secondary market.
Right.
And when I say buying emotionally, sellers also do the same. Especially when you're putting prices on, they put too much emphasis on a certain thing where you have to kind of detach yourself, really. If it comes to renting, I would imagine being too rigid. A bit like I said earlier, this is the law. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Which,
from both sides.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it. Real estate companies make mistakes as well. So that's why it's a loaded question. I mean, where's it coming from? And we talked about developers making mistakes, whereby they put forward this proposal. They think this is the big I am. There's the all singing, all dancing promotion, and yet it then doesn't work sometimes. So mistakes are happening all the time, and as long as they're not what I call terminal mistakes, I always welcome that, because it's growth. Because if you're learning from your mistakes, I mean, we are all in a place wherever we are right now based on the mistakes that we've made in the past. Sounds very philosophical, but that's the truth. Now, unless you're stupid and you keep making the same mistake and not learning from it, then the mistakes that you're making today is shaping you and putting you in a position of where you are today. And a little bit like myself, when a child is told not to put his fingers in the socket, and then he realizes that mummy and daddy were right. He's never going to do it again, type of thing. So I like the question. I probably needs a bit more context for me to answer it more, dare I say, more correctly. I've waffled a bit, but I've tried to sort of be a bit broad. So hope Cecile liked it.
No, I think that's. I mean, I'm getting from that, because the first part of that question is, you've been in this market for decades. It's just kind of leaning on your experience. What have you seen? And I think you're right. There are so many things that so many mistakes have been made, And that's not a criticism. That's just part of evolution. A market that's come from really nowhere, just over 20 years ago. It's still nascent, but we've got to this point where it's huge. So that I think it's a reasonable.
But I think that's
question,
been the success. That
Well,
clearly
exactly.
it has made its mistakes and learnt from it.
Exactly.
Look, let's take Palm Jebel Ali for example. Palm Jebel Ali was launched in sort of, when was it, 2006, if I remember rightly. I remember in 2008 we were selling it at 200% premium, and then of course the market crashed, the financial market crashed. And I remember about 6 years ago, possibly 5-6 years ago, because I was working for a company that was I'm not going to say it was a partnership with Nikhil. So we were involved in a lot of think tanks.
Right.
And 5-6 years ago, I was involved in meetings discussing about what's good about Palm Jumeirah and what isn't.
Okay.
And I remember talking to many owners and agents and saying, so of course, Palm Jumeirah, one way in, one way out. Nightmare, traffic.
Yeah.
You know? Crescent, you've got to go up the trunk, turn right or left. So to get to the Crescent, you've got to go as much as 9 kilometers when you are maybe not even 750 meters from the main shore. So Palm Jebel Ali, not only is it twice the size, there's 3 entrances in. The fronds are wider.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is they've learnt from the mistakes of Palm Jumeirah, which is still a wonder, a marvel of engineering, whatever you want to call it, but it can be better. And so even there, the government, Nikhil, whoever, Dubai Properties, learnt from the mistake and now are going to deliver a palm that, if everything that they say, it's just going to be a game changer.
It's one of the greatest things to see as a satellite image as well. I think the Palm. That's when it really kind of stands out to me. So I think that's part of the appeal of these mega projects here in Dubai is they have that appeal on that level. I think that's an important part of the marketing. I guess that's one of the things. King texting, king of where or what name I don't know, but king.
There's a king who comes to the Chelsea. I know a king.
Could well be
who's a
this
Chelsea
king.
fan.
Well, you might get this from the question. I don't
Let's
know,
see.
but King, text us back. Are you a Chelsea fan? If you are, why?
No, don't ask him why. It's normal.
I'm buying a property, King says, with my partner, but we aren't married. How do we register the title deed to make sure we are both protected if we ever split up? That starts from perhaps the wrong footing, but there you are.
Well, I mean,
Is King married or has a partner?
I don't think it's the same king. No. Having said that, I mean, it's not very normal. Sorry, that didn't mean that. No, it's not a very not popular. What's the word? Common name. That's what I want to say.
It's not, no, it's not at all. Well, normally it's a prefix, isn't it? So it's like King Mario.
No,
There's
King Charles.
There's another great
No,
title,
stop it.
by the way.
So that's why I said it. Could it be the same person?
King
Because
Mario
I only
JBR.
know one king now. Hopefully 2. Anyway, let's answer the question. The law has changed. Actually,
It has.
You don't have to be married now to sort of live together, and therefore, as long as you are registered on the title deed, which clearly, when you buy the property, you will be registered. So man and woman, whatever, will have a 50% share.
Right.
So if he's talking about in the event that maybe their relationship breaks down, the property links them, so she will own 50% and he will own 50%. So he won't be able to sell that without her say so, and vice versa. So the other option would be that one party then buys the other one out.
Right. and then re-registers that title deed.
Correct. So,
Yeah,
so
okay.
the fact that it is on the title deed is the protection in any eventuality.
Okay. Well, King, let's hope it doesn't go that way and you have many years of happy life and more real estate success stories. I still think King Mario works. I might bill you as that next week. I don't know yet. We'll see. I wanted to ask you something else today, Mario. You and many others are pointing towards the new airport, Al Maktoum International, and that's kind of the Dubai South area.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think one of the up-and-coming neighbourhoods, if not the up-and-coming.
Yeah, it's one of the most exciting growth stories in the city right now. In fact, there's quite a few of them, isn't there? You can name quite a few, but this one is definitely there. Dubai South, look, it's set to become home to the Al Maktoum. I mean, the Al Maktoum Airport is there, but obviously it's not opened yet as we know it to be. So it is going to be the world's largest airport. It's going to have the most passengers. I think at one stage there was something like 225 million passengers were muted that it would have the capacity. Now, when you consider that Dubai International, I think was between sort of 95, I think it even touched close to 100. So this is more than double that. So you can get an idea how big it is. So the airport itself will be a massive driver for the Dubai South area. Right now, if we look at prices, it's very affordable. I mean, if we compared the one bedroom at 170,000 on the Palm, here one bedrooms, they're going to start around sort of 60, 65, something like that. So for an emerging area, get in now whilst the prices is still that, because I don't think they're going to stay there. And of course, we're seeing major developers rolling out new communities, and therefore everything else that comes in with that, with retail, lifestyle, open spaces, that whole area is growing. And Dubai South, don't forget, also then, if you look at the north, if you like, of Dubai South, that's the Expo area. See, that's another area that...
Well, I was going to ask you about Expo as well, because, the Expo site was, the Expo site, what was it going to become? I know there were always plans for it, but it's become, people are moving there.
It's been a massive success story. If I think back to major, dare I say, sporting events in other parts of the world, after the event is finished, a lot of this stadia and other infrastructure just goes to pot. I remember seeing, I think it was Athens. I'm trying to think whether it was 1996, I think. So we're going back, 30 odd years.
It was 100 years after the first modern Olympics, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
And pictures of the stadium well afterwards with grass growing through the concrete. It was just left.
Yeah.
So clearly the vision for the Expo site. Now, I know the Expo, although it was 6 months, so it was a major event, and Olympics is just a month long. This was 6 months. They had major plans for it, one of which was to then turn it into a sustainable, dare I say, innovation-led, smart type of community, city, whatever. When you look at it now, you've got hotels there. Actually, you've got Gulf Foods there now, because they've got the exhibition centre there. I mean, the talk was to move the exhibition centre from World Trade Center just to Expo.
Well, that's going to happen.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Gulf Food is so massive that they're now doing it in 2 areas, which I went, funny enough, I went last year for the first time just to have a look, and it was an absolute just zoo of people, and I didn't know what I was doing. To be fair, I think I went there just from the tasting point of view.
I have a feeling you did.
But I was disappointed. There wasn't that much tasting, either in the pavilion that I was in. Anyway, but we digress. Expo Centre is, the Expo site is, it's as I said, it's connected with the Red Line. It's also close to the airport. Prices there have started to creep up. So unlike Dubai South, a 1-bedroom, you're talking probably close to 80,000 dirhams. And it's definitely attractive for sort of young professionals, perhaps remote workers, or people who want something more modern. That there's again green open spaces there as well. And surprisingly, because I went to a comic convention there once, from where I live in JBR, because of the massive road infrastructure leading up to the expo, it was okay. So there was no traffic. It was a 15-minute drive, and in my head, I had expo, being so far away.
It's got to be 30 kilometres or so from you.
I mean,
JBR, you would think.
I know I was driving probably quite fast, but
What are you saying exactly?
all I'm saying is it didn't take me very long. But again, the roads were lovely because they were so big. And I guess not everybody was going to Expo. So you've got this sort of 4, 5, 6 lane highway leading, and you're one of the only people on there.
It's an area that's been master planned for the future, for sure.
And
You look at the
absolutely.
infrastructure.
So, okay, today, or should I say at that time, it took me 15 minutes. Maybe it's a 20-minute, half an hour journey. But the point I'm making is that Dubai is growing. It's growing outwardly and down from the sea. Shoba, for example, have launched a new development. It's another master plan called Sanctuary. That's further down the Al Ain Road, not far from the Valley, which the Valley was a project built by Emaar, very popular. But some people joke that it's in Saudi Arabia. It's so far away. But what I'm saying is that the city is infilling. When I first came here, I mean, land was abundant. Land is still abundant, but it's less abundant than it was, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, you're right.
Dubai is going to, if it keeps going the way it's going, this population is going to fill out all these gaps. And so for anybody who's saying, is the market saturated? When is it going to stop? As long as the fundamentals are there, we will have periods of stability. Property Monitor bringing those figures out now anyway, that actually growth is not as accelerated as it was, which is a good thing. We don't want these double-digit growths year in, year out. Well, sellers might want them, investors might want them, but in reality, it's not good for the market. So the market also needs time to pause and catch its breath a little bit. So these periods of nothingness, if you like, stability, where it neither goes up nor down, is good. The doom mongers. I was talking to some guy yesterday, and he's saying that every 5 minutes somebody's saying, a crash is coming, a crash is coming. Prices will stop going up for sure, but I don't know why they're sensationalizing it, because look where we are. Look what's here. Look at the infrastructure, the transportation, the job opportunity, the wealth creation. Why is it that Dubai in general and the UAE more broadly is attracting everyone and anyone? They must be preparing for something amazing. We're living in it, and real estate isn't for everyone. And I'm talking to maybe agents out there who are listening. It can be really, really tough because the competition is tough. But mark my words, you're probably in the best place in the sense that the opportunity is there. And despite the fact that some of these agents perhaps haven't done a deal in 1, 2, 3, 4, some even 6 months, believe it or not, you often wonder how they're even surviving. But there is no better place from an opportunity point of view. Yes, the competition is high, extremely high, and it will probably get even worse. But be grateful that we are living during these times, because it's amazing. And I'm not just talking about if you're a real estate agent, because like I said, there are many, maybe 60% of agents, or possibly even 70, are not making hardly any money at all because the competition is so high. So it's a bit like when you look at the world, not growth, the sort of the wealth of the world. You've got 1% of the world has so many billions, and yet the majority of us don't. Real estate isn't quite stacked like that. There are people making a lot of money, I have to say.
Yeah.
But when you look at the whole percentage, there's a lot that aren't, and a lot are struggling. And it's mentally torture. We could do a podcast just on the mental health of real estate agents. Poor old real estate agents, get the violins out. But honestly, it's a thing.
I think that's a fair point, actually, because, real estate agents, we kind of point out and poke them, and it's
Yeah.
you're all like this. But there are some really good people trying to make a living in a really, really tough place to be,
Correct.
I think. And I think you need to kind of take that into account a little bit. So shout out to the real estate agents this morning.
I know that sounds weird, and I'm going to get some haters on that, but honestly, yes,
It's
for
not
sure.
easy. No,
it isn't.
And at
Look,
the end of
in
the
any
day,
industry, I'm just highlighting real estate agents. I'm
For
sure.
sure.
I'm sure if we look at the whole industry, but because it's my industry, and I see, I mean, that's how heavy this is.
that's a very hard thing to hear.
And of course it is. And as a father, I just defaulted to, think about your family.
Yeah.
I'm happy to say, I actually gave him a book. I had a book on mental health. Don't ask me why, but anyway, I had this book. I gave it to him, and it helped him. And I'm very, very happy to say that he went on to marry the love of his life. He found this lovely lady, and he's a father now. But I also know of an agent years ago who hung himself in Safford Park. So as I say, this is probably too heavy a conversation, but this is the reality of life, if I can put it that way. That when you are getting your 10th call from an agent and you just want to tell them to bugger off, as it were, just think, just like you said, that these people, the majority of these people, are just trying to make a living.
Yeah, it's and that's really the takeaway, I think. There's one thing I wanted to bring up with you to finish with today, Mario. We've got a minute or so left, but these are new branded homes have been unveiled in Abu Dhabi. You've seen this story, I'm sure, and I know how you feel about branded residences. I know how a lot of people feel, but they are successful things to do. But of course, this is, I think, slightly different because this is Manchester City, so this is Abu Dhabi's own, if you like. Yas Residences, Manchester City Yas Residences by Ohana, good developer. 1.67 million square meters on the Yas Canal waterfront. I mean, and that, to me, put the Man City thing aside, that's not my team, but this is a no-brainer. This is going to sell.
100%. I'm glad you brought it up. From a real estate perspective, great developer, great product, great location. Opposite Yas Island. Yep. We know Disney's coming and everything else. So I think anybody that is looking potentially at diversifying their portfolios should definitely look at this project. The payment plan is great. It's 50-50 payment plan. Right. Prices aren't too bad as well. So honestly, branded, yes, okay. A bit like when Damac did the Chelsea residences. It's a bold move because, like I said right at the beginning of this show, football is very tribal, and it will potentially alienate some people. But because it's in the Middle East, this isn't in the middle of Manchester or somewhere like that. It's going to be less of it, and of course, any local who follows football and comes from the capital is obviously going to follow Manchester City, and therefore there's a love there in itself.
So that's the point.
So I think they've hit the nail on the head. Obviously, Etihad sponsor Manchester City as a front of shirt sponsor, so I guess they'll be on the sleeve maybe, but they are going to be a major sponsor. Ironically, 3 people from my office, including the owner, were invited by Ohana, private jet, went to Manchester City over last weekend, saw Manchester City Wolves, met 3 of the players. It was all on Ohana. And again, it was a way of saying thank you to Allegiance specifically, because we had 3 people there. And it's so funny because the owner's a Man United fan.
I was going to say, if you move into Manchester City Yas Residences, don't have a red car.
No, exactly. And, well, he does as well. So no, that was quite funny. So he himself, I remember, put on the group, he said, guys, and he used your terminology, this is a no-brainer. You've really got to jump on board this. He said, the only problem is that, as a Man United fan, I won't be investing.
Well, you can't win them all, can you? Mario Volpi is a real estate columnist for The National. He's the presenter of the Dubai Property Podcast. He's a senior VP for investment advisory at Allegiance Real Estate, and a welcome guest here at Mirror Business FM. It's been good to see you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Appreciate it.